Okay, hello and welcome to Hanging Out with Bob, podcast hosted by me, Bob Edholm. Thanks for joining us, and let's get started. Question: what is the greatest rock and roll band of all time? I'll throw out 5 names: the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Queen, Pink Floyd, and the Archies. No, really. The 5th name I wanted to throw out there was, of course, the Rolling Stones. But the purpose of this podcast isn't to determine which rock and roll band is the greatest of all time. All the bands I just listed are great, and there are many, many other great bands that we could add to that list. Besides, determining the greatest rock and roll band is subjective and depends on individual preferences. Do you base it on the band's influence, musical innovation, commercial success, lasting impact, all of the above? No, we're not going to tell you which rock and roll band is the greatest of all time. But what we are going to do in this podcast is concentrate on one of those great rock and roll bands, the Rolling Stones. And that's because my guest today is a huge Stones fan who's probably forgotten more about the Stones than I could ever hope to learn. That guest I'm referring to is sitting across the table from me in the palatial recording studio of my apartment. He's Steve Durant, who, like me, grew up in the Minneapolis suburb of Columbia Heights. He's from the Heights class of 1974. Stevie, welcome to Hanging Out with Bob.
Thanks, Bobby.
Steve and I have known each other since the mid-1970s. Actually, Steve and my brother, Dave Edholm, were friends before I met Steve. But starting from the days when Gerald Ford was president of the United States, and in the years that followed, Steve and I have played softball together, played basketball together, watched college basketball together, especially in the mid-70s and early 80s, watched some hilarious movies from the 1970s together. I'm thinking of Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Animal House, to name just a few. And we've talked about or listened to music together. In fact, Steve, I just remembered that you and I, along with my brother Dave and Toby Nord, another guy from the Heights, we saw U2 in concert in 1987.
I remember.
At the late, great St. Paul Civic Center.
Yes. Just
days after the Twins won the World Series. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah. And here's a trivia question. Do you remember who the warm-up band was that night before U2?
I do not.
It was the Bodines out of Waukesha, Wisconsin. Yeah, they were great too. So.
In fact, Toby just recently saw the Bodines.
Oh, really?
So they're still knocking around.
Anyway, Steve is retired, right, after several years in sales.
In procurement and sales of electronics.
Okay. Yep. I know Steve, he loves to hunt and fish. He follows the Twins, hard as that may be these days. You're going to say something about hunting and fishing? Or?
I don't hunt anymore.
Oh, okay.
But I do a little bit of fishing.
Okay. All right. He likes to play his guitar.
I do.
He loves to play chess. And, of course, listen to and talk about music. And he and his wife, Teresa, live in South Minneapolis.
That's right. Steve,
no question about it, you are a dazzling urbanite. Like the way I snuck in those references to Blazing Saddles, playing chess, and dazzling urbanite. But I'm digressing here, folks. Because Steve and I share a love of music, and because Steve is a subject matter expert, a SME, if you will, on the Stones, we're going to let him share some of his knowledge and expertise on what many people call the world's greatest rock and roll band. First, just a quick look at the Stones. They're from the UK, of course, British. The band formed in 1962. And Steve, if you could, talk a little bit about each of the original members of the band, just their names and what they played.
Well, Billy Wyman on bass, Keith Richards on guitar, Mick Jagger on vocals, Charlie Watts on drums, and I think Ian Stewart on piano, and Brian Jones on mini instruments, guitar.
I saw one way they described him as an instrumentalist because he could do a lot of different things. So, I don't think he ever gets enough credit for it, but wasn't Mick Jagger actually a pretty good harmonica player?
Excellent.
Or a harp player? That's how Keith Richards refers to him. So
yeah, he was excellent.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Stones started out small, playing in little blues clubs in London, but eventually they gained popularity in the UK and internationally, particularly after the release of hits like I Can't Get No Satisfaction way back in 1965. Oh, gosh. Wow. Their early music was, as one writer put it, often characterized by a raw, energetic, and rebellious sound, a contrast to the maybe more polished image of other bands of that era, like, for example, the Beatles. The Stones went on to produce numerous albums that became classics, and that's why Steve Durant is joining me here on this podcast. He's going to list his top 5 Rolling Stones albums, and he's going to tell us why they're his top 5 Stones albums. So, Steve, why don't you list your top 5 Stones albums, and then we can go into a deep dive in each one of them, okay?
Well, I guess 4 of them are studio albums, all between 68 and 72, and I think that was their greatest period. And that would start with Beggars Banquet in 68. Yep. Then you would go into Let It Bleed, and I think that might have been 69. It was.
Yep. Yep.
And then we jump into Sticky Fingers, yep, and then Exile on Main Street. Okay. And during that time, they released a live album, Get Your Yayas, out in 1970, I believe.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Steve. Now, because we'll be doing a deep dive into each of Steve Durant's top 5 Rolling Stones albums, we don't want to rush through any of them. We're going to split this podcast into 2 parts. Part 1, which we're recording now, will cover 3 albums, Beggars Banquet, Let It Bleed, and Get Your Yayas Out. Part 2, in our next podcast, will cover the albums Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street. So, Part 1, here we go. And to quote Ed Sullivan, when he introduced them for their first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show way back in 1964, ladies and gentlemen, the Rolling Stones. Okay, Steve, let's talk about your top 5 Stones albums in the order that they were released. So let's start with what was their 7th studio album, Beggars Banquet, which was released, as you said, on December 8th, 1968, just in time for Christmas. Nice Christmas present then for all the Stones fans, right? And for the record, no pun intended, Beggars Banquet was a top 10 album in many markets, including number 5 in the U.S., where it has been certified platinum. And just to review, platinum means an album that has sold at least 1 million units. And number 3 in the UK. It received a highly favorable response from many music critics upon its release in 1968. And while the album's 9 songs lacked a major hit single at the time of the release, songs like Sympathy for the Devil and Street Fighting Man went on to become rock radio staples in the decades since. Beggars Banquet has appeared on many lists of the greatest albums of all time, including a list by Rolling Stone magazine, and was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. And Steve, I know you've got some notes about this album. Why don't you just kind of share some of your thoughts? You know, the first time you heard the album, if and when you bought it, and stuff like that, just to give us a feel.
Oh, I can't remember the first time I heard it, but it was many, many years ago. It's a great album, obviously. It's interesting. It's Brian Jones' last album. Yeah. And as you and I were talking about earlier, Brian was a big part of the Rolling Stones getting started, but he had a lot of personal issues, a lot of drug issues, and this was really the last album that had his footprint on it.
Mm, yeah. So do you remember actually buying the album when it came out, or did you kind of listen to it at other kids' houses or on the radio, or how did you?
You know, I don't think I bought it when it came out. I mean, 68, I was kind of a young kid. Sure. But I remember the Rolling Stone came out with a list of the 100 greatest albums, and I felt like I needed to own all of those albums, and I think I do own them. Okay. But I went backwards and ended up maybe getting Beggars Banquet, maybe back in the 80s, and learning about it in detail then, but certainly knew the hit singles. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, I mentioned when the album came out, their original cover was kind of it was controversial. It was supposed to be, it was like a picture of a grimy bathroom wall. Mm-hmm. It was a photograph, and the record label must have said, no, we're not going to do that. So what they did is they came out with a really plain white cover. It looks like an invitation card, like to a wedding or some kind of banquet. I mean, you can see, and listeners, you can Google it too, but what a contrast in covers. Do you remember when you bought it, did you get the one with the white cover? Or?
The bathroom.
Oh, you did get
I
the bathroom.
did.
Okay.
Well, the CD. I don't think I ever owned the vinyl.
What I read was years later when they did some re-releases, and then in their 40th anniversary edition, they came out with the original cover. It was like in the late 60s. It's like, no, we can't show that. So that's
Times have changed.
Yeah, I guess. What was your like favorite song or from Beggars Banquet? Which one did you really love, and which one has kind of stuck with you probably the most?
Well, I guess it starts with the first song, Sympathy for the Devil, and it might be their greatest song. I mean, Mick, he sings in the first person narrative as the devil, and it's kind of a historical tale.
Yeah.
You know, can you guess my name? I mean, I think it might be their greatest song. I mean, he references Jesus, Pontius Pilate, Russian czars, St. Petersburg, the Blitzkrieg, the Kennedys. It also features, you know, Keith Richards, one of his greatest staccato leads.
Right.
It was just amazing. So, yeah, it might be their greatest song.
Yep.
So that's a good way to start the album.
Yeah, it was.
And then I guess, you know, you go into No Expectations. And I think that it's a really cool song, and it's got Brian Jones all over it. He plays beautiful slide guitar. I always thought it sounded like he was playing underwater, if you recall the song. But, you know, that is a, you know, really, I think it's all of Brian Jones.
Yep. Interesting, a really diverse album too. Like there's that one song, it's called Factory Girl. And I heard of this guy, Rick Gretsch. He played the fiddle in Factory Girl, but he was one of the members of Blind Faith with Stevie Winwood and Ginger Baker. Actually, and he was in Traffic.
Oh, it's not surprising because the producer of all of these 5 Stones records is Jimmy Miller. And Jimmy worked extensively with Stevie Winwood. And Eric Clapton, Delaney, and Bonnie. So that I didn't know that, but that makes perfect sense. But you know, that's it's a beautiful acoustic ballad. You know, kind of a middle class factory girl, and great songs. Well, there's so many songs. I mean, we could do a podcast on each album and still not cover everything. But what was the other big, huge song from that time, though? I mean, that gets played all the time on the rock radio Well,
stations.
I think you mentioned it, Street Fighting Man. I mean, that's really one of their great songs. And it's such it's kind of a controversial topic with student unrest, and so they're starting to get into those type of things.
Well, it came out in the late 60s. There was a lot of campus unrest and anti-war demonstrations. Yeah, it was turbulent times.
And it's also kind of famous because Keith plugged his guitar into this cassette recorder, and that's why you get the funky guitar sound. I mean, think of the opening riffs of the sound, and that's kind of how it came to be.
Creative.
And he used it on some other songs as well, but just kind of a happy accident, I think. But, you know, another, I think, really, well, there's a lot of great songs, but an important song, that Dear Doctor. It might be among my favorite Stones songs, and Mick, you know, pantomimes country music, and they did that a lot through their career.
Right.
I mean, you think of Dead Flowers, Country Honk, Faraway Eyes, you know, throughout their catalog. And I think that definitely became, you know, part of their signature sound.
Yeah, they explored so many different types of musical sounds too. Like you said, there's country flavor, the blues, rock.
And Mick took it all the way. I mean, he really hammed it up, you know, with the. You know.
I've even heard him kind of almost try to sound Southern or country when he sings. You can hear it in his voice. It's like
he does. He really hams it up. But I guess you've got to take it all the way. You know, you can't try to represent what was currently popular. So they kind of took little idiosyncrasies and really ran with it. But I think it was also, they kind of went backwards a little bit, because if you think about, you know, the country music of the 50s and the 60s with Hank Williams Sr., it was kind of reminiscent of, I think, those vocals. You know, with the yodeling and
Yep. Interesting too. Some of the all stars that were on the album. I was surprised to see that Dave Mason, who also was in the group Traffic, he plays a double reeded woodwind instrument called shanani on Street Fighting Man. You ever heard that?
I have.
Next time you listen to it, you'll hear that oboe sounding instrument. That's Dave Mason. It's like, wow, how did they get these guys to, Rick Gretsch is playing the fiddle and just a lot of different.
Again, through Jimmy Miller.
Yeah. And that song, Salt of the Earth, they're called the Watts Street Gospel Choir.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing background vocals on that. It's just, they brought in so many different types of musicians and singers. It's really interesting.
Yeah, they did. And then I think of Prodigal Son, which is Keith and Mick didn't write it. It's a folk standard.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful acoustic song. And I don't think Keith gets enough credit for his acoustic guitar work.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet Virginia, he's got, many songs, Factory Girl, Salt of the Earth.
Yeah.
He was a terrific player.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Stray Cat Blues, I think that's one of the great cuts on the album in all time. I mean, it's quintessential Stones with, Mick having lust for a teenager with Nicky Hopkins, great piano work.
Yeah, you see each other on that. I see. Isn't he like on 8 of the 10 songs or something? Or most of the songs he's playing piano.
I think so. I think maybe Ian Stewart may have came later with this piano work. But, I mean, the guitar work is amazing.
Yep. Yeah, good points, all of that stuff. So I assume, Steve, you've seen the video of the Stones performing Sympathy for the Devil from that Rock and Roll Circus concert film.
I have.
That is just wild. I was watching it on YouTube as I was preparing for this podcast. And it was just wild because at the end of the album, you can see John Lennon and Yoko in the crowd.
Yes.
And Jagger gets so into it. He's at the end of the song, and he kept saying, all right, or something. He's on the floor, and he's got his shirt off, and he's got pictures, the tattoos all over his body. It's very Mick, It just that was just a wild time. But I was thinking about how young those guys were. They were all in their mid to late 20s at the most. And it's like, oh God, that was so long ago.
It's so cool about it too, because they don't represent the song just as they had on the album. It's definitely got a different feel. I mean, I kind of watch Keith, and he's playing the guitar way different on that live version than the studio version. And it's just got a different cadence to it. It's got a different feel, and it's I think it's really great.
Well, it shows how versatile he was. So. As great as this album is, it's also kind of sad knowing that, as you mentioned earlier, for Brian Jones, that was his last Stones album that he released.
Yeah.
He had more issues than a newsstand in his life. I mean, between the drugs and trouble with relationships and so on, and you can't help but feel sorry for him because like I said, he kind of started the group, and they became world famous, iconic, and that, and he was only 27.
He was
part of the 27
charter
member of
club.
the 27 club?
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix followed, and Janis Joplin, and Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse and stuff. It's like he was like the charter member, it seems like. But kind
of like Syd Barrett, who I think really started maybe Pink Floyd, and then they just just eclipsed them.
Good point.
Yeah.
So, what was it about this album, just to kind of sum up Beggars Banquet, that made it one of your top 5? I mean, what is it that stands out the most to you?
Well, I think it's like all of the great Stones albums, in that it incorporates a lot of different elements. You've got country music that they probably got from Graham Parker. You've got Delta blues. You've got Chicago blues. You've got rock and roll with Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
And you take all those things and you put it in a blender, and they created something that wasn't there before.
Right. Oh, good point.
But I think this album, it's got kind of one foot in the future, one foot in the past for them. I mean, it's definitely a Brian Jones record, and then if you go forward, you can see that the band is definitely starting to change. You see a lot more country influences. You bring in Bobby Keys. Keith learns how to play guitar in open G, and their sound definitely changes. And when they get to Sticky Fingers and Exile, I mean, that's the fully formed band. But you can just see the beginning of that with Beggars.
On to the second of Steve's top 5 favorite Stones albums. It's called Let It Bleed. That was the Stones' 8th studio album. It was released in late November 1969 in the U.S. and a month later, December 69, in the U.K. For the record, Let It Bleed was recorded during a period of some big-time turmoil in the band, as Steve kind of referenced earlier. Brian Jones, the band's founder and one of the original leaders, had become increasingly unreliable in the studio due to his heavy drug use. And during most recording sessions, he was either absent or so out of it that he was really unable to contribute meaningfully. He was fired, or as they say in the UK, sacked, in the midst of recording sessions for this album and replaced by Mick Taylor, as you mentioned, Steve. And sadly, Jones died within a month of being sacked. He contributed to only 2 songs, according to my research, playing backing instruments. So
He had drowned in his swimming pool.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which is, of course, the way that you and I want to go.
Well, yeah. Oh, man, yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be a rock star, you might as well die as a rock star.
Yeah. I remember it definitely made the news. I mean, I remember reading about that when it happened. I was just starting high school, but I thought, wow, one of the guys in the Stones. So.
I know, yeah.
Let It Bleed reached number 1 on the UK albums chart, where it temporarily demoted the Beatles' Abbey Road when it first came out, and it was number 3 on the Billboard Top LPs chart in the US, where it was eventually certified double platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America. While no high-charting singles were released from Let It Bleed when it came out in late 1969, many of the album's 9 songs became staples of the Rolling Stones' live shows and on rock radio stations, including Gimme Shelter and You Can't Always Get What You Want, both of which frequently appear on lists of the greatest songs ever. In 2005, the album was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame and is on various iterations of Rolling Stone magazine's The 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. It's got an interesting cover, too, Steve, as you look at what I gave you, too, a copy of that cover, and you've seen it a million times, but on the front cover, it's a sculpture, and listeners, you can Google it to see it. The front cover, it consists of the actual Let It Bleed vinyl record being played on by the tone arm of a antique-looking phonograph, and then the record changer spindle itself is supporting several items stacked on it. Instead of records, there's like a film canister. If you look really closely, it says Stones, Let It Bleed on it. There's a clock dial. You can see the clock. There's I think it's a pizza. And then there's like a tire, like a bike tire or a trike tire. And then on top, you got this cake with all this elaborate icing topped on it. And it's got figurines. I don't know if those are supposed to be the Stones or what, but they got people on top. And then on the reverse side of the album, it's got the same record stack, but it's like in a complete state of disarray. The album has been smashed. The cake on top has had a piece cut from it. It just looks like bedlam, on the back. But it was, what I read, Stephen, maybe you knew this too, it was inspired by the working title of the album. Do you remember what it was originally going to be called?
I do not.
It was the working title was Automatic Changer, which is what you're showing here. Remember how those old stereos, you could have records on top?
I do.
I mean, like my folks had a stereo. When the first LP ended, the needle would come up and then the record would drop down. So it was going to be Automatic Changer, but I think Let It Bleed is probably a better title anyway. So, and then the other thing that was interesting, and then we'll get into the album, but the cover itself, it was among the 10 chosen by the British Postal Service for a set of classic album cover postage stamps that were issued in January of 2010. So how cool would that have been to get something mailed to you and the stamp is that cover of Let It Bleed. It's like wild. So,
versus a puppy.
Yeah. And then in the U.S., the people have to be deceased. I mean, they don't, they show. So anyway, that's some background on the album. But Steve, how about this album? Do you remember, again, we're going back 50 plus years, but do you remember the first time you started hearing songs from this album?
I bought the vinyl. I can't remember when, but I'm sure I was probably a teenager.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of a transitional album because, as you indicated, Mick Taylor, this was his first album, and I think that the greatest incarnation of the Stones definitely included Mick Taylor. Mm-hmm. He's a great guitar player, and the interplay between he and Mick is amazing. Mm-hmm. And Bobby Keys, this is his first record as well. So,
Bobby Keys is, for the benefit of our listeners, is a great sax player, American, right? And they used him a lot.
Texas guy.
Yeah.
I assume you want to get into him in more detail.
Yeah, we will go along. Yeah. Yep. But he's in there, so.
Yeah, that's a big part of it for sure.
What song? I mean, there's a lot of songs in this album too. They're great, but which probably would be your favorite, or would you listen to or go to the most?
Well, I guess there's a few. It starts out with the first track, "Gimme Shelter." I mean, it's easily one of their greatest songs.
It really is.
And there's a kind of an interesting story that goes along with it. They were finishing up the recording of the song, and it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and Keith and Mick felt like they needed to get some background vocals to finish it. And they had worked with this Mary Shelton, an American, before. So they call her up like at 2 or 3
Was
in
it Shelton or Clayton?
I thought it was Shelton, but
Maybe
I
my
might
notes
be
are
wrong.
wrong. They had Clayton here, but
Oh,
anyway, her first name was, and Mary was spelled like Merry Christmas, right?
Correct.
Mary.
But
We'll go with Mary.
But you're probably right
Yeah,
about Clayton.
okay,
I
yeah.
thought it was Shelton. But anyway, they told her, "Hey, we need you to come down here," and I think she gave them a piece of their mind, or piece of her mind,
Yeah.
and then they said, "Listen, we'll give you $500 or something." She said, "I'll be right down." So she showed up.
Yeah.
With curlers in her hair, in her PJs,
Oh, wow.
and very, very pregnant.
Oh, wow.
But then she did the iconic rape
Oh,
murderage just a shot away,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is really, it's, I can't imagine that song, without
Oh,
it.
right,
It's just
right.
incredible.
And you can hear her in the chorus too. You hear her voice is very distinct.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So I think, that's certainly a really, really great Stones song. And then, Love in Vain, which, it's a Robert Johnson song.
Yes, the
which
blues,
I
American
didn't
blues guy,
know
yeah.
until 20 years after I bought the album.
Right.
It's, one of the great bluesmen of all time.
Yes.
And so, I thought it was written by Keith and Mick, and I
Yeah,
was shocked to
yeah,
hear it.
yeah.
And, I learned a lot about Robert Johnson through the Stones and Led Zeppelin,
Yep.
and then later found Robert Johnson. But Mick Taylor's slide guitar work and mandolin work on that song are amazing. But as great a song as it is, if you listen to the live album, Get Your Ya-Ya's Out, that version of Love in Vain is just an amazing piece of music, and Mick Taylor really plays beautiful slide guitar. It's kind of a shining example of what a great player he was.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some big hitters on this album too. Guest artists. Like I was surprised there's a song called "Live with Me." Bobby Keys is playing the saxophone,
He
but
is.
Leon Russell is in that. He plays the piano and he kind of handled the horn arrangements.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's just, they got some good people on that album to play. And Ian Stewart, whom you'd mentioned earlier, one of the Rolling Stones who wasn't a Rolling Stone or should have been but never was or whatever, he plays the piano, I think, on Let It Bleed,
Okay.
the title song. So, and then Jimmy Miller, the producer, I read where he was actually a musician.
He's a drummer.
He plays the drummer in some songs. And in that song, Gimme Shelter, which I think is a very haunting song, especially after I saw Gimme Shelter, the movie about Altamont and that stuff. But and Gimme Shelter, he's the one playing that song. I think it's an instrument called the wee-row, where it sounds like you're scraping something against. That's him doing that. And
Okay.
he plays the maracas, and he said he played drums on some of the songs, some of the albums too. But just a great group of guys. So
Country Honk is another interesting song. I mean,
is that honky tonk with the country?
It's country honk,
Yeah.
and that turned into honky tonk
Oh,
women at
okay.
some point in
Country
time.
honk was first.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
In
okay.
fact, it's kind of interesting. Honky Tonk Woman, one of their most iconic songs,
Yeah.
is never on any of their studio albums. It came
Yeah.
out as a single,
Yeah.
and that's also true for Jumpin' Jack Flash, which is
Oh, I
amazing.
didn't know that.
It's not on any studio
okay.
album. So, two of their greatest songs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, interesting. Oh, I did not know that.
But that country honk, I mean, it is a straight up, pastiche of country music.
Yeah.
And I think it really, makes me think about Graham Parsons, who I think introduced country music to the Stones and especially Keith.
Yeah.
So without Graham Parsons, I don't think you're going to see, country honk and that turned
Yeah.
into country honk or
Yeah.
honky tonk women.
Interesting.
So I think that was an important piece of music.
Yep.
And then, Live With Me, that great Bobby Keys sax solo, that was incredible.
Yep. And then the album finishes on a really strong note too, doesn't it? That's got the song "You Can't Always Get What You Want," which I've heard probably a million times in my life. But it's a great song. Just the entire thing. They got that choir singing in there.
Yeah, it's actually the London Bach Choir. I looked that up before the podcast, and then you've got Al Cooper playing the French horn, which I thought was amazing.
And I love that French horn in that song.
It's beautiful.
When it starts out, it's so pretty. You know, you go, oh, wow, that's Al Cooper. So.
And then you've got the lyric talking about Mr. Jimmy. And I don't know if you've heard the story, but there's some people that contend that Mr. Jimmy was working in the drugstore in Excelsior, Minnesota, where the Stones played when they had their first tour of the U.S. So the reference to Mr. Jimmy, some people believe, was some guy named Jimmy at a drugstore in Excelsior, but other people say, no, it's Jimmy Miller, their producer, and I don't think anybody knows the answer. But just to think that they played at Excelsior Amusement Park is amazing.
What would that have been, like 63 or something like that?
Mid-60s or early, probably
playing
early 60s.
Playing in an amusement park. Wow.
Isn't that something?
Amazing.
You know, another couple songs on the album that... I think Let It Bleed, I mean, it's the title track, that is absolutely one of my favorite songs and one of their most iconic. I mean, it just sounds like a live recording. It sounds like they might be in a basement, sounds very improvisational, very loose to me. It's absolutely one of my favorite songs.
Yep.
And then I guess I wanted to mention Midnight Rambler.
Yes.
It's a very cool song, but much like, what's the other song that I referenced that was much better?
Oh, it sounds better live.
On Get Your Yayas Out.
Okay.
If you like Midnight Rambler on the studio album, listen to Get Your Yayas Out version. It is, I think, one of the greatest pieces of music I've ever heard. All the different tempo changes in the guitar interchange between Mick Taylor and Keith. It's really, really great.
And we'll be bringing that up next, Get You Guys Out. So,
one other thing I want to bring up about You Can't Always Get What You Want. That's the first example of open G tuning that I can recall.
And what's open G tuning?
It's an alternative way to tune the guitar, and I think Ry Cooder taught it to Keith, and it's a tuning that's been around forever. I think you'd find it, hundreds of years ago on Hawaiian music. The old bluesmen use it to play slide guitar, and I think that's what Ry Cooder did with it. And he taught it to Keith, and Keith turned it into his rock and roll superpower. I mean, from really the Sticky Fingers on, that became the definitive Keith Richards guitar sound and really changed the sound of the Rolling Stones. It can't be overstated how incredibly important that was.
Wow.
So that was the first time I'd ever heard it.
Thanks for sharing that. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's, not to go down the rabbit hole, but if you take a regular tuned guitar and you strum it without any fingering, you get nothing. It's a nothing chord. But if you tune it to open G and you strum all the strings, it gives you a G major chord. And you can get many of the same chords, but you have to do different fingerings. So it's like a whole different language. But yeah, it's really important. I remember decades and decades ago trying to learn Wild Horses on the guitar, and I learned it. I knew what all the chords were, and I knew it was correct because I could play along with the record, but something didn't sound right. I knew something was different. And then at some point I learned that Keith was playing open G, tuned my guitar into open G, and suddenly there it was. Sounded just like Keith. And I started noodling around with it, learning different, fret techniques, and all of these Rolling Stone songs just came pouring out of the guitar. It's just a huge, huge part of their sound.
Well, to wrap up this one before we get to Get Your Yayas Out, what is it about this album, Let It Bleed, that also made it in your top 5 of Rolling Stone albums?
Well, obviously great songs. I think, Mick Taylor, and again, that was their their greatest lineup. Nothing against Ronnie Woods. I love Ronnie Woods. The stuff that he did with the Faces is, I think, amazing. The Faces, easily one of my favorite bands. But you put Bobby Keys and Mick Taylor in that band, you really got something.
Wow.
So that and great songs. We haven't even talked about, Monkey Man. I mean,
Monkey.
It's one of the great Keith riffs of all time. So I mean, you look at some of the songs on that album, it is a powerhouse. And again, it's kind of transitional. On one hand, you've got the the earlier albums, and this certainly has changed, and it progresses into the next two, which I think are the two greatest Stones albums by a good margin.
Yep. Okay. Were there any other songs you wanted to mention that you had listed? That you just we haven't.
You've got the Silver, which is iconic in that Keith sings it, and I think that might be maybe his first, or certainly one of the first songs that he sings. Yeah. And
because he sang "Unhappy," but that's on Exile, right? That came a little bit later, right?
It did. Yeah. Okay. Usually, and then Keith started getting at least one song per record, and I love Keith. Yeah. I love the way he sings. So I think that's
you got the Silver. Yeah.
It's a great song.
Yeah, my notes here say that Nicky Hopkins played the organ on that song.
Oh, he did. Okay.
He also played the piano on 4 of the 9 tracks to let it play. So he's a busy keyboard guy with the Stones, obviously. So
yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, on to the next of Steve's top 5 of favorite Stones albums. It's called Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. And as we mentioned earlier, this is a live album with 10 songs on the original release. It was recorded mostly from 2 shows at Madison Square Garden in New York City, plus a song that was recorded in Baltimore. Maybe Steve knows a little bit more about that. And then they did some overdubs from the Olympic Studios in London. The album itself was released in early September of 1970. And for the record, Get Your Ya-Ya's Out was a critical and commercial success, reaching number 1 in the UK and number 6 in the US, and has been consistently lauded as a landmark live recording. I learned too, Steve, in my research that this was the final Rolling Stones album released under the Decca and London labels, Decca in the UK and London in the US, before the band launched their own Rolling Stones Records label. So the front album cover is kind of interesting, and listeners, you can Google this to see it as well. But it features Charlie Watts in what appears to be his stage clothes. He's wearing Mick Jagger's trademark striped top hat. He's holding up a guitar in each hand, and it almost looks like he's going up for a layup. He's got that right up in the air. And then slightly behind him, to his right, is a donkey. The donkey is not jumping like Charlie is. It's just standing there, and he's got a guitar and a couple of drums hanging from his neck. Interesting album cover.
And his iconic T-shirt.
Yeah, what does it say on the T-shirt? I can't tell.
It doesn't say anything, but it's a picture of women's breasts.
Oh,
yeah,
on his T-shirt. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, well, I can believe it. Mm-hmm. So now let's talk about this, because you said this is one of your top 5 favorites, but it's a live album especially. Go ahead and just kind of tell us everything you want about this album, why it means so much to you, and the songs and so on.
Well, it's kind of stuck back in the Let It Bleed, Beggars Banquet time period. I mean, there is no open G tuning on it, and it's kind of an homage to Chuck Berry. I mean, 2 of the songs on the album, there wasn't that many, 10 songs.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 of the 10 are Chuck Berry tunes.
Which ones?
That would be Little Queenie and Carol.
Okay.
And Keith Richards, like almost every electric guitar player was hugely influenced by, the great Chuck Berry. I mean, Chuck's about the most important guitar player other than Jimi Hendrix of rock guitar. But it's kind of a rocking blues. You've got the great version of Jumpin' Jack Flash, Stray Cat Blues, which is I think a lot better than the studio. Love in Vain, which is better than the studio version with Yeah, Mick Taylor's unbelievable slide work. And then I mentioned Midnight Rambler, which is just incredible. And they also do Sympathy for the Devil. And for my money, it has got the greatest guitar solo that I've ever heard. And I think the first half of the solo, Keith does. The second half, where it really takes off, that's Mick Taylor. And it's a beautiful guitar solo. And again, it's a live version, but it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so, I've been asked many times, what's the the greatest guitar solo, and I've always said
the live version
Sympathy
of
for the Devil. It's amazing.
Wow. How did those two coexist? Well, first it was Brian Jones, but how did Keith and Mick Taylor coexist? Did one play the lead and the other was sort of a rhythm, and they kind of took turns, or could they both be leads at the same song, or how did that work? How did you split that up?
Keith was the consummate rhythm player. I mean, that kind of goes back to open G. You can't really play lead guitar when you've got it tuned to open G.
Okay.
And I won't go into detail about that.
Yeah.
But he did most of the rhythm work.
Okay.
And then Mick Taylor did the leads. And,
okay.
Keith, he could certainly do some slide work, but that was, what Mick Taylor was really known for.
Okay.
But there was definitely a demarcation in, what people's responsibility was.
Yeah.
And they worked so greatly together. I mean, that's one of the amazing thing about that album. It is, I think Mick Taylor had only been with the band for 6 months at this point, and they are so tight. It's shocking.
He was a perfect fit.
If anybody wants to listen to one song, go listen to Sympathy for the Devil, and
the live version.
Listen to the interplay. It's it's incredible. So, and they do a great version of Street Fighting Man that's probably better than the studio version. And then Honky Tonk Woman, like I mentioned, is not on any studio recordings, but they do a great version of it.
That is amazing. And what was the other song? It was Honky Tonk, and another one that was never on the album. They were just released as singles.
Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Wow. Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Just releases. Well, back in those days, the singles was a big deal.
Well, they had like over 100 singles they've released in their 60 plus years.
Wow.
It's like I can see why, but wow, I just find that fascinating. That neither of those are
Isn't that
on albums.
interesting?
So,
yeah.
They're on different compilations, I'm sure, but I mean,
they do show up on compilations.
Yep. So okay.
But it's an album. I think I mentioned to you last time we got together. I think of all the albums that I've owned in my life, or that I do own, I doubt that I've listened to an album more than this. I mean, I kind of learned how to play guitar listening to all of these records.
The Yayas.
To the Yayas. I certainly, learned how to play Chuck Berry, not by listening to Chuck, but by listening to this, and then Love in Vain. I mean, it's the acoustic version of it taught me a lot. So I mean, it's an album that I played so much, and I still play it today. I love it.
I didn't ask about the other two albums either, but these albums, you still have the actual vinyls or CDs? Or
sadly, I lost almost all of my vinyls. I moved many times in my misbegotten youth, and ran into some wet basements. And my albums except for about 50 of them got ruined, and then I just slowly sold the 50 and then replaced it with
thanks to platforms
with CDs
today,
and now replace it with Spotify.
I know. Thank goodness for the platforms like that. So,
Right.
Because now if I ever want to hear a song, I can just bring it up. I say, God, I wish I had that album. Well, I don't really need it anymore because I'll just throw on the side. I remember I had a couple of albums that I wanted a guy to listen to. I brought him to work. I was still in college, but he wanted to hear them, so I let him listen to them. He brought them back to me, and I put them in my car that day while we went to work. Well, the car was sitting out in the sun. It was hot out, and it was, and I brought them home, and I remember it was like an Elton John Madman Across the Water album, and I put that on the turntable, and it was warped. And so when you watch the needle playing it, it was like jumping up and down. And you don't have to worry about that anymore when you got Spotify. You don't have to worry about records catching, broken records, that kind of stuff. So.
Actually, thinking about Yayas, it's kind of interesting that when you have an album, there's going to be scratches or little nicks. And so there's a part of the song that you kind of wait for it. And here's the little, now when I hear that some of these songs, I kind of wait for that and it's not there, but it's just like it's indelibly.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think you've already said it, but I just want you to wrap it up with this album. Why is this one of your top five? Maybe your favorite top five, but why just...
I just think probably the guitar work between Keith and Mick, the great guitar solo, the great version of some of their best songs. It's just, I think it's my favorite live album.
I think that's really interesting too, because I guess, and I normally don't think of people, if they get a favorite album, it's a live album, but this one is so good that it's just in the league of its own. So
yeah, I mean, you think of, I can't think of one song that
doesn't belong on it.
Yeah, I mean, they're just all fabulous.
Great.
Yeah, in fact, I think every version is better than the studio version of the same song.
That's saying a lot, because I've heard other live albums, and it doesn't sound as good. Maybe part of the problem is the recording itself, but maybe the voices weren't as good or something. But
I totally agree. I think that's what makes this really unique.
Special,
just how good it is.
Yeah.
And the guitar work, like again, that Love in Vain, Mick Taylor, maybe his finest moment. Beautiful.
And this is all from like 3 concerts, right? A couple at Madison Square Garden.
I know 2 Baltimore. And
what was played at Baltimore?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know
that'd
which.
be interesting, because I think I read somewhere it was like a Wikipedia thing where they said one song came from Baltimore and the rest came from the 2 concerts they played at Madison Square Garden or something like that.
But it's interesting. I know that the warm-up bands they had on this tour, I mean, B.B. King was part of it.
Oh, wow.
Ike and Tina Turner were part of it.
Yeah.
So
now, are those related at all to what we see in the movie Gimme Shelter? Are any of those concerts in that movie as well? I mean, it seems like the main part of Gimme Shelter is when they're playing at Altamont and at Speedway in California.
I think
but
that's
I thought
true.
they showed some recordings of them playing elsewhere. Maybe so. These guys like Ike and Tina were touring with the Stones on their tours.
They were.
Okay. Interesting. I'll have to do a little deeper dive on that sometime. But have you seen Gimme Shelter? I haven't seen it in years.
I have.
Yeah, that's. I said I could do a podcast in that movie. I just remember how upsetting that was toward the end. All right. Well, this will take us to the end of part 1 of our podcast with my friend and guest Steve Durant and his list of top 5 Rolling Stones albums. So far, we've covered just 3 of those 5: Beggars Banquet, Let It Bleed, and Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. In part 2, we'll talk about the other 2 albums in Steve's list. That's Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street. Steve, are you having a good time? I'm loving this stuff you're telling me. It must be fun just to talk about your favorite band or the music.
I am having fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, they deserve, these are albums, or classic albums that deserve to be talked about, especially for those who aren't familiar with that. So it's good that you were able to join us on this. So thanks for showing up. And again, to our listeners, thanks for hanging out with me, Bob Edholm, and my guest, Steve Durant. Be sure to catch part 2 of the top 5 Rolling Stones albums per Steve Durant, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until then, bye.